We need to add to the conversation on Pleiadians and the associated terms having to do with these fake aliens. Now, this is a more complicated discussion, and it's a preliminary discussion. I think I should have added it in the other material, but for some reason it slipped my mind. So I'm adding it now. I want to talk about the Pleiadians, the Arcturians, the Orions, the Lyrans, the whatever else. That whole plethora of fake alien DNA, fake alien heritage. Because this is part of an elaborate setup. So hopefully, now if you're following my work, you'll understand that a lot of this stuff we can go into this depth and discussion, and we have already done so. I'm not going to go into all that depth and discussion because we've already done it. So I'm going to refer to certain areas, and if you need to know more, if this is still new to you, check the other material and check the website, stellan.ca. There's a good basic information there. DNA. Some people might feel that they have Pleiadian or Arcturian or Orion DNA or Lyran DNA. Now what happened is, what I think happened is, how's that? Because this is still preliminary, and you know, it's not easy to get all the information on this. But if we look at the Cabal, and we look at how they set up the MILABS, the military units, using the back-engineered craft, they're using back-engineered technology. What they're doing is, when they target people who the star beings have already contacted. They target people who the star beings have already genetically modified. The star beings were genetically modifying humans, aka star children. This is a widely accepted idea in the UFO community, and I agree with it. There has been genetic engineering. Now, the children with the modified DNA, they get some of this interstellar DNA, which connects them back to their heritage, which offers them enhanced abilities, which offers them contact to their higher self, which offers them different life missions, you know, all these things through the DNA. This is how advanced beings communicate, through the DNA, upgrade the DNA. Now, while the star beings are modifying the DNA and contacting the star beings in human form, and we've talked about this, star beings who incarnate as a human to live a human life to fulfill a mission. While that is going on, alongside that, you have the Cabal program, the disinformation program, the destroy and ruin lives program, using these MILABS, these militarized units who have advanced technology. And they would target people, right? They would target people. But one of the things they did was they also were modifying DNA, because they had some genetic science which the star beings had given them, right? They also had some interstellar DNA. which the star beings had facilitated. They had given them. So the Cabal would say, well, what races are visiting our planet? And they would say, these races. And they would say, well, we wouldn't mind having to look at their DNA. You want the DNA of the aliens, of these star races? Well, that would be helpful. So part of the negotiation, remember, this is ongoing negotiation over many years and decades. There's transfer of technology, scientific know-how, there's the shooting down of ships, there's the capturing ETs and interrogating them for information. There's building bases under the ground, there's building bases under the sea, there's building bases on the moon. I mean, we're talking about an exchange of technology, information, knowledge, everything, including genetics. So they taught these Cabal, the second civilization had mastered some level of genetic engineering way before it got into the mainstream, into conventional science. So you have to kind of, you have to say it's not just a simple negotiation, it's an ongoing negotiation up and down, and there are some bad things going on. There's some corruption. There's sequestering of knowledge. There's sequestering of technology. We're going to keep this technology for our military, and we're going to dilute it and give a little bit to the public, right? When all of it was meant for the people, right? We should have had iPads in 1975. Our airplanes should be flying using anti-gravity propulsion. But that stuff was all sequestered. It was taken. It was blocked. All part of this ongoing attempt in secret to negotiate. Right? Transfer this. Well, we need more time. Society's not ready. So one of the things they did is these MILABS came down and they modified the DNA of some people who had been contacted by genuine star beings. In other words, these are star contacts. These are star children. Already star children. They've already been modified to some degree by star beings, by the scientists. And all of this is in agreement to the contract of incarnation. The star beings would not engineer or modify without an agreement, without a cosmic agreement, understanding. They would not go against the law. Now, what the Cabal did is they created other types of aliens using genetic engineering. So they took this star DNA and they mixed it with some other DNA and they created their own alien DNA sequences. And they put these sequences into the star children. Now, they don't have the skill of the star beings, but they had enough to put in, to modify the DNA like a patchwork, right? There's like a bypass. You're kind of bypassing the circuitry that the star beings put inside. Now, what did they create? They created a race called the Pleiadians. They created a race called the Arcturians. They created a race called the Orions. They created a race called the Lyrans, etc. All of these. So there is, what I'm saying is there is, or there could be a genetic component, which is this bypass circuit, the sequences that were inserted on top, layered on top of what the genuine star scientists did. So in other words, this is who you are, and on top of that, they put this bypass, a sequence or set of sequences to bypass the awakening. I'm not a geneticist, so I don't know how to do that. And you don't know how to do that, but they know how to do that. So let's assume, well, let's not assume, let's give them some credit that they knew what they were doing, because they learned from the best. So what happens is this. This basically what happens. Is that so the way it works is you get a contact, there's an event, there's an age, there's a circumstance where you wake up, which means that the genes, your star genes, let's say, are activated. They're triggered. They're activated, and that connects you to your stellar heritage, your star heritage. I am this. I have an interstellar heritage. My parents were from another planet. I don't belong here. I am a stranger in a strange world. I'm a wanderer. All this stuff. But with the bypass, in some people, because it's not going to work for everybody, in some people, instead of connecting you to your interstellar heritage, it connects you to this fake alien genetic engineering program from the Cabal, from the second civilization people. Right? Instead of going here, the switch goes, and you go, ah, I'm a Pleiadian. Right? Now, why does it work on some people, it doesn't work on others? Some people have more advanced genetics, and the Cabal scientists were not very good. Right? And sometimes they would visit somebody at nighttime and try to modify them, and maybe it wasn't an ideal situation. And some other people were abducted and taken to a lab, and they were implanted with these false Pleiadian memories, right? So you get the memory, I'm a Pleiadian, and you get the genetic sequence, yeah, I feel like I'm an Arcturian, and I have a mission, right? So now some of the memories and some of the genetic sequences are kind of co-meshing. And if you can't tell the difference, if you've never been educated, and this is the big problem. The big problem is this information is blocked, it's censored. They call people crazy. Extraterrestrials don't exist. There's no way they would be doing genetic engineering. This information is blocked. So you have no way to understand any of this. Right? You have to go to the alternative community. And then you're going to get a lot of disinformation agents. It's very hard to know. Now, if you don't know what's going on, then you start to think, I am a Pleiadian, I'm an Arcturian, I'm this fake alien. And those people who are more in contact, who are more resilient, who are still in contact with the star races, they can bypass or even remove that bridge that was put inside of them, and those false memories can eventually be removed, right? Their memories are not permanent, so they can be removed. The idea is when you wake up, you tap into your memories, and then you tap into this fake DNA, this Cabal DNA, and then what happens is, once you start to believe it, you start to live a certain life. And that's the idea is to change the path, to change your mission. That's the purpose of it. Change your trajectory. Now you're on this path. You believe false information. You start meeting people who have similarly false information. And you get a community that is completely falsely generated, misguided. And then the mind control, the psyops people, the psychological operations people come in there and say, You're a Pleiadian, this is what you are, love and compassion, ninth dimension, Arcturian, and the Orions are from here, and the Lyrans are from this dimension. And then you get the whole false mythology. And once you're in there, it's hard to get out, right? It's like a cult. You believe it, you feel it, there's other people, it's gotta be true. It's a cult. You're brainwashed on many levels. Because the Cabal are very smart. And they went in there and they did a number on people. So what happens is you wake up, you do a past life regression, or you have some kind of awakening. Whatever it is, you're like, oh, I'm a Pleiadian. How many people had that? I'm an Orion. Right? I had that. When I woke up, I contacted the UFO community, and I had the agents say, you look like a Pleiadian. Right? They have people there. You're a Pleiadian. Yeah. You're like my friend. So they are there to reinforce those false memories and those implants. They're there on purpose. It's a mass deception. It's a mass manipulation. It's a mind control program on many levels. That's the problem. It's not one level. It's multiple levels. Because we're always looking for one level, one thing, one secret. No, there's multiple levels. False agents. After the Pleiadian thing, I said, listen, after a while, I said, no, I'm not a Pleiadian. Another person came up to me and says, you're an Orion. And I never thought about it. I'm an Orion. Why would they say that? Because they're part of the program. Right? And if I didn't know better, if I wasn't in contact with genuine star beings, I would say, yeah, maybe I am. Maybe I'm an Orion. Right? That would answer a lot of questions. I got a mission here. And then you get into the really silly stuff. It's like, well, I think I said in a comment, I'm an Orion. I think I'm an Orion. And somebody says, I'm an Arcturian. I hate Orions. You hate Orions? What the hell is an Orion? I don't even know what it is. You hate it. Right? It's this whole false mythological cult. And it's false memory implants. It's genetic modification, genetic tampering. It's mind control. And it's these operatives in the UFO community. Right? And when you understand star beings, as I do, Stellan, when you understand Stellan culture as I do, none of this stuff is so ridiculous, it's so stupid. It just doesn't make sense because star beings don't act this way. Their culture is not this way. They don't think this way. They don't say what dimension they're on. They don't even say what density. I've never had any star being tell me what density. So I don't use that term. That's a human term to me. I don't use density. They never say what dimension you're from. I'm from the 9th dimension. I'm from the 12th dimension. They've never said that. They don't use that term. They don't use that thinking. They have another way of thinking. So none of this stuff I can relate to. And this is a huge community here. Pleiadians, all this stuff, Arcturians, Orions, Lyrans. And it comes down to genetic tampering. I think it comes down to genetic tampering. And false memory implants, which they learned how to do because they were taking stuff from the extraterrestrials in secret. Never went to the public. Right? So this is a very complicated operation. Very complicated and it's almost diabolical. And the purpose is very clear, is to destroy the missions of the Star Children, is to ruin lives, and is to harm the eventual disclosure and the contact. Because if everyone believes false stuff, we will never meet the real star beings. Because they're going to say, these people are delusional. They've been manipulated. How can we contact them? They believe all this. We will never be able to re-educate them. They're completely gone. Their missions are destroyed. They're way off mission. Right? Because the Cabal, right? You understand what I mean, right? So a family, they raise a child, right? The child grows up, gets educated, comes out of university, full of potential. And then they fall into a cult. And for 10 years, they're in this cult. And the parents are thinking, I raised the child, I fed the child, I protected the child, they're educated, they're my child, and now they're in this cult, and they can't get out. Right? So this is like the star beings. It's like, well, you know, these star children, they have all of these wonderful missions and this potential. And they've been completely brainwashed. So, you know, I've done a number of videos on this, and we're probably going to have to do more. There's a lot of this stuff, and it's coming out. And the more I learn about it, because there's so much to talk about, there's so much to talk about, you know, so that there's so much to talk about. You know, we need hours and hours and hours and months and months and months to talk about this stuff, to really find out the breadth and the width of these programs, right? And we don't know how many levels there are. Now, I've already given you several levels, right? And that's a lot to work with for some people, right? And how many years is it going to take, right, to get back on track? My goal is to get you back on track, right? That's my goal. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm just trying to tell you what's been done to you and how it might have been done. And you need to re-examine things. You need to be able to figure stuff out. Go back to the beginning. Go back to yourself. Go back to your root. Go back to your DNA. Go back to your authentic contacts. Are you living your mission? Do you have a mission? Are you living your truth? Have you been deceived? And you can't think one level. You can't think, well, that's disinformation. It's multiple levels, including down to the DNA, genetic, right? False implants. And some ideas are reinforced in the media, in films, right? And maybe you're watching certain programs to reinforce those false beliefs. And when you hear this information, when you hear me talking, when you hear the truth, how do your friends react? Do they get angry, right? Do they start to resist? They fight, right? That could tell you my truth, when it goes up against a false implant, false memory implant, there's a reaction. Ugh! Because you're fighting against the memory implant. The implant is trying to override your brain. And I'm trying to tell you the truth. And that's that conflict. I am trying to tell you the truth as I understand it. This is what I understand. I have had contact with these stellar cultures since I was 3 years old. 3 years old. Now I woke up when I was 38, and I went through a lot of this stuff. It wasn't, the first few years were very difficult. So I'm not talking from somebody who's reading books. I mean, I've gone through a lot of this stuff. And I've been in contact with these people since I was 3. And then my memory returned when I was 38. So there's a lot of years where I was out of contact or had limited contact. I didn't see it as extraterrestrial. I saw it as spirit guides, or I saw it as intuition. I didn't read it as it was. I didn't read it as it was really going on. So what I'm saying is I have a lot of years of contact with these people from the stars and from other dimensions. And to a normal person, this sounds crazy. And that's acceptable, because when I was 37, if you told me this, I would say you're crazy. But when I woke up at 38, I realized I don't know what I think I know. In fact, I don't know very much. There's a whole lot of other stuff going on here. And that's what happens when you wake up. So, you know, when you wake up, you need to find the truth. If you're still not there yet, if somebody's still not there yet, they're not going to be ready for this information, right? So you have to wait till they wake up. If you've already woken and you've been misled and you're trying to understand yourself, try to look at things more objectively and be aware that there are these disinformation, psychological programs, genetic modification programs from the Cabal. And they have technology and equipment that can look extraterrestrial, right? They can appear. They know the composite of all these extraterrestrials, so they can mimic and imitate aliens. And if you don't know, if you're not educated, you won't be able to know the difference.